nice view. Before I go. So this is Terminal D in the San Juan Airport. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. So today it's going to be a little bit of a change of pace. So I recently went on a trip to St. Thomas. I was blessed to be able to go there. And on the return, I had a choice to have a 5-hour layover in San Juan, Puerto Rico, or have it be close to 3 hours and pay an extra $200. So I was like, what the heck? I'll do the 5 hour and take an Uber, out to San Juan, and kind of walk around a little bit. And that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video. So nothing really came of it. When I actually went out, I just took an Uber, to a local mall and walked around a little bit and went to a university campus. And it was very uneventful, like I said. But I just want to take the time to encourage you, take those little adventures in life. Just before I was going to take this trip, I was really stressed out at my job at work. And like I said, I was blessed to be able to go. I really enjoyed my time, and I was contemplating not going because not only was I stressed at work, but I'm like, I don't want to spend a ton of money. And I just had a lot going on. And so I think a lot of times that happens in life where you have this chance, something good happens, or, you have an opportunity, but other things are just so heavy that you want to take a step back. Even if I did take the 5-hour layover, I was kind of thinking about getting back to work, and work's been super chaotic. And I'm like, am I even going to go back to work? Do I want to go back? Am I going to have a job? Is this going to happen? That going to happen? And a lot of it's not of my own doing, just some things that are out of my control. But I almost sat in the airport and was just like, you know what? I'm just going to sit and edit little videos that I have and just kind of sulk or whatever. And I'm glad that I went out. Even though nothing came of it, it was still a good little adventure. And more importantly, it was growth for me and just an opportunity to step out in a season of life where it's just like, I want to hunker down. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of times you want to plan, you want to kind of strategize, analyze your emotions, your feelings, kind of figure out what your goals are and things like that. But sometimes you have to get out. And I felt like this was a good moment because I recently got my passport. I should have had it a long time ago, but I've just gone on a couple cruises. And, I've done the birth certificate thing, which is not great, but one was to the Bahamas for a 5-day. And then another one was a 4 or 5 day to Cozumel. So I really didn't have to have my passport, but I recently got my passport. And this trip really kind of, even though you don't need a passport to go to St. Thomas, it's in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I'm glad I have it because I had a lot of friends that do travel, and I live in Oklahoma and I travel to North Carolina, the East Coast, a couple times a year. And a lot of times the plane tickets going there are comparable to flying to South America or Europe. And of course you have to have a lot more funds and savvy for when you get there and doing things. But two things kind of happened here. It kind of got me into a little bit of a travel bug. Not that I'm going to be a traveling YouTuber or anything like that, but it encouraged me to want to travel. And I don't make a ton of money, but I think it is something that's very attainable if you save, make wise decisions, maybe work extra if you can at your job or do little side hustles just to get out there. And so this is kind of a random video, but I just want to encourage somebody. Do not take a step back. Do not freeze. Do not pause. Get out there and live life. I was with my family, so that was very good. That was a very rich experience, and I may post some more content on that. But even on this trip, after I broke through, I'm going on the trip. I'm going to go out in San Juan. And, starting off the trip, I was like gung-ho. I bought a GoPro before the trip, and the GoPro was dead when I got there. The first night, we were kind of go, trying to navigate, find our way around the island. So I couldn't really do a ton of filming, but as I opened my bag near midnight, I tried to plug it in, power it on. It did not work at all. And I tried to cut it on before I left, but I didn't have that much time because I was packing at the last minute. I bought it the night before I left, and the GoPro was gone. And this was like a super, it sounds, I know, a first world problem, wham, get over it. But it was kind of like a huge hit because I'm an adult. I have two younger brothers. They're adults. My parents are obviously adults. And we got to travel together. My parents are in good health. And tomorrow's not promised. Anything can happen. And while everybody can still walk around and do adventures, I was like, it'll be cool to have this GoPro. I can capture these moments, especially in a place where you have like some of the world's most beautiful beaches. And that wasn't lost on me. And we did like a 6-hour snorkeling excursion, and the GoPro was dead, and it just kind of took the wind out of me because I have my iPhone, but I'm not going to dunk that thing in salt water. And then I have an old LG V60, which I use, but again, I can't dunk that in salt water and expect it to hold up. It may or may not, but it's not going to get the footage of a GoPro. And so it was like super frustrating. And I'm not going to like go out in St. Thomas and buy a GoPro. I don't think they had any Best Buys on the island. They have like a couple Kmarts, but it was just a really, really big deflator. And so I ended up having to put it in this plastic bag.
This is the LG
and
V60
you'll see some footage from that. It's not great. And I took it out, and we were in the water, but it really sucked to not be able to have that while snorkeling. Because who knows when I'll get to go back to St. Thomas. And if I do, I probably will, but will it be with all of them? Like currently my younger brothers and myself, we don't have kids, and we're single. So it's kind of like easy to kind of go with the flow, be super adventurous, do this and do that. And it sucked. And so that kind of like, kind of avalanched or pushed into my thinking about, well, should I even go out to San Juan? And I ended up doing it. So I don't know, not to ramble on, but just when life pushes, push back and keep going is what I'm trying to say. So I say all that to say I hope you enjoy these couple clips. Like I said, I went to a mall in Puerto Rico. I can't even remember the name right now. It wasn't the high-end mall near the airport because I felt like that would just be like super touristy, even though San Juan, I mean, Puerto Rico's in the U.S., so it's pretty westernized. But that mall, I don't know. It just, it didn't seem like it would be as great of an experience as this one. This one wasn't super crowded, but I'm glad I did. I'll put the name of it in the video. And I did go to a college in San Juan just to walk around. So I Ubered here. I'd encourage you, if you do have a long layover in San Juan, to go out on an Uber. I had basically 3 hours to work with. And so when I landed, I had to charge my phone a little bit. And another fun fact, the LG V60, that thing stopped charging while I was at the airport. I plugged it in at 24%. It got to 26%. And it had been strong the entire trip, shooting 4K, and the battery was holding up. And it was gone. And I was just like, great. So I had to use my iPhone to film this, which is a great video taker. But, obviously it's my personal phone, and it doesn't have a ton of space left on it, because I have the 128 gigabyte model. So anyway, I just rocked with it. So yeah, here's some clips, and thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I will kind of narrate through the rest of the video, and we'll see how long this goes. But I will say, one other thing that I will say is that when you do step out and when you do push and travel or do the thing, opposition and challenges are not an indication that you're going the wrong direction. I think so many times, when we're young, we're told, oh, if it burns or if it hurts, or stop, don't do that. Because as a child, you can't analyze, you don't have an understanding of the world to be able to know, what's wrong and what's right. So you do have to stop. And so I think sometimes that's over-taught as a child. It's like, ooh, that doesn't feel good, don't do that. When in fact, the challenging and difficult parts of life and situations are often where we have the most growth. And a lot of times that growth is invisible. So in my life recently, I've had to, I've kind of randomly been in similar settings that I have in the past. And I've noticed little things that I'm like, wow, my reaction's different. I don't have to force myself to move through this or be able to walk through this or not react like I did in the past. I just have that growth and I didn't even realize it. And it's kind of like fitness. If you go to the gym and you do something where your heart rate isn't elevated or you don't have to strain, you're not going to see strength. You're not going to see growth. And I love thinking about that because, you're at the gym, you put in that time. And one of the things I hate doing is leg workouts. But, ever since I was like in college, I just remember like working legs and then having to climb stairs and be like, this feels easier. This feels, more effortless. And I love that. And I see the same thing in my own life. And honestly, a lot of times these challenges and things aren't something that I voluntarily enter into. And I need to kind of change that as an adult. I think sometimes where, when you're in your early 20s or college or late in high school, like everything's a challenge because you don't have anything. But as you get older, you make more money, you can pay for conveniences. We stop challenging ourselves or welcoming challenges. And that's okay. That's human nature. We want to survive. And, our body and minds tell us, hey, in order to thrive and survive, things need to be as comfortable as possible. But we can atrophy. Our mental toughness can atrophy. Our bodies can really atrophy because we're just able to afford to not do things and not be challenged or, I'm past that. I'm growing past challenge. And I think that's kind of a mistake. But I guess what I'm trying to say is push past your feelings and just do the thing. And then also what I wanted to talk about on a completely different note, like this is just a small portion of San Juan. I don't know a ton of Puerto Rican people, but in my interactions, they're really great people. I love what I've seen from the culture. And I really wanted to kind of get out there and just see a little bit. Obviously, I didn't experience authentic because I had a flight, a 4-hour, actually, man, that flight was almost 5 hours. And I didn't use the bathroom once from San Juan to Houston. And I didn't even think about it, but a majority of the flight was flying over water, which can induce some anxiety. But, for the most part, you're flying over clouds. But anyway, I didn't want to eat any authentic food and have my stomach thrown off. Not that I think Puerto Rican food's super exotic, but I kind of stayed away from that. And it was just an interesting situation when I was here because I had a backpack on. Like I traveled. I didn't do like a typical carry-on book bag situation. I checked the largest piece of luggage I have, which is like a hard case Samsonite. And then I knew that I was going to come out here. So I was like, well, obviously I want to have some things on me. I brought my laptop, didn't even use it, but I had like the GoPro, a second phone. So I had a backpack, had a jacket on because planes get cold. It's chilly in the morning sometimes. And so I want to have a jacket. And so I had that in my backpack, a laptop. So my backpack wasn't super deflated. So I'm walking around San Juan after I Ubered to this mall. And I'm trying to not look suspicious or crazy because I'm also black. Not that they're racist or anything like that. But I feel like I stand out. Even though when I was in the airport, I saw people who appeared to be African American or Caucasian, and they were actually Puerto Rican. And that's kind of a funny thing to me, or something I kind of chuckle at internally when I think about Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans is that, they're different shades and things like that. And so sometimes I'll see, what appears to be a white or black American and they're Puerto Rican. So I probably didn't stand out as much as I thought I did, but I felt really self-conscious because I had a book bag on and I'm going into a store like Burlington or I'm in a shopping mall and it's kind of like not a small backpack like those Louis Vuitton backpacks that people carry. Obviously, I'm a traveler or I'm like a vagrant. So yeah, it was just very interesting. But anyway, so I say all that to say that I was trying to find a place to put the backpack down. And I thought I found a stairwell where I could put it. And I'm like walking and I remember coming kind of out the mall. I was maybe like 50 feet out the mall and this lady was behind me. I'm sure she was going to her car, but I looked to go put my backpack down and the lady's like 10 feet behind me, I'm like, oh my gosh, if she sees that, she might call the police or she might take it, something like that. And it has my laptop and, my second phone with all this footage or whatever, and the GoPro that I have to exchange. So shout out to Best Buy for doing that. I have one that works now. I'm going to post that video later of testing it, going into the woods, whatever. But so that didn't work out. And then she leaves. I return back to the stairwell. She gets to her car. And then I go back and I'm just like, I see like liquid by the stairwell and it smells like urine. And I'm like, ugh. And so all of the walking that I'm doing, I cannot find a space to put down this backpack. So eventually I just give up and I'm like, I'm just going to have to walk around with the backpack. So I go into Marshall's, Burlington, walk through the mall, and then I walk to this university that you're going to see in a little bit. But as I said earlier, I just saw a very, very, very small portion of San Juan. The weather was gorgeous here. It was about 80 degrees. So after a while, especially when I walked to the university, I did start to sweat a bit, but nothing too crazy. And so it was a beautiful city. You could tell like there's some like older residential style housing mixed in with some, metropolitan kind of living. And I would love to go back and fully kind of experience more of Puerto Rico and San Juan. I know that's the capital. It's a big city. What I really should have done was go to Old San Juan and kind of walked around and took footage there. I didn't want to do that because when I looked, I was like, dang, the Uber. The night before, my last night in St. Thomas, I was just checking Uber prices, and I was like, well, it's $12 to go to the mall, and I could potentially walk to this college, or I could spend $30 each way going to Old San Juan. And I should have just done that because, again, I don't know when I'm going to be back in Puerto Rico. Flights are super expensive. I probably want to go to Europe before that and kind of plan a trip out like that. But that's another thing that I kind of wanted to mention, and I know I'm rambling, but I just got to get this out. Things aren't going to go perfect. So even after you make the push to do the thing, to go to the place, or like it could be something small. Like last night, I was like feeling super tired, and I got off work, and I had only slept like 3 hours the night before. And I was like, man, I'm going to go to Walmart. I'm going to get a couple things done. And I felt good. My energy was good. I got some food, some barbecue. I ate that. And I planned to go and kind of do some prayer and meditation and just chill out at home. For me, I'm not like super introverted, but I do recharge away from people. So I was looking forward to that, going to go to bed early. And a friend calls like, hey, I want to go to the sushi place and I don't want to go by myself. And so I ended up saying yes, and it was such a good experience with her, and we kind of caught up, and it was just interesting because I had to make the push to do that, and then when we got there, it was kind of awkward. I haven't talked to her in a while. There was some friend drama that I didn't get sucked into, but it just created a weird dynamic, and man, I mean, after an hour and a half, things started to flow a little better. It wasn't like super, super awkward, but it took us a while to get hit our stride, I should say. But I'm really glad I went. It was a good experience. And sometimes it's not even about the outcome. The fact that you do it is just exercising that push past this feeling or push past this discomfort just to be a better person or to grow. So that's one thing. And with that awkwardness, I was just reminded that everything's not going to be perfect. So if I could go back, I would have gone to Old San Juan. I mean, it was near the beach. I probably could have got some street food and bought like an antacid or some kind of stomach calming thing if I felt off on the flight and had a better experience. But, you got to get out there and do trial and error. So now going forward, I'll spring for the extra money. That's not a ton of money if you're walking around in Puerto Rico. But I was just being cheap because I'd already spent a ton of money, doing the St. Thomas thing. So, and even when we were in St. Thomas, we didn't it's tough because we were there for 6 days and, you want to experience a lot. But then in that, you don't want to get so exhausted that it's like, how was your vacation? You're like, oh, we did this, that, and the third. And it looks good on Instagram, but you're exhausted and not rested. and just not able to take things in. So, we were trying to find that balance of excursions, time together. Should we go here and commute there, take this ferry here, and still have it be restful and not exhausting to where we're fighting all the time? Because it was me, my parents, and two close family friends, basically my play sisters. And we each had our own room, so that was cool. We were able to kind of step away at the end of the night. We can kind of get up when we wanted and say, hey, I'm not going here or there. But I knew going in that it was not going to be a perfect situation. And we argued about going some places and felt like we could have done things better this way or that way. But when you're going to a new space or a different place, like, it's not going to be perfect. And if perfection is the goal, I know some people are super anal. You got to give yourself some grace, give the situation some grace, and understand that if you make a wrong turn, you can even flip it. If you're a perfectionist, say, hey, that was an education. That was a learning experience. I have another, jewel in my crown now, with the overall understanding that doesn't mean you're going to make perfect decisions in the future, especially on things that aren't detrimental. So, the primary goal there was to spend time with family. And I'll kind of wrap things up and leave you with the video after I say this. Like, on this trip, I didn't expect perfection, but my overarching goal, and I didn't sit and think about this, it's just natural to me because I grew up in a pretty good family, and we got along pretty well. And like, I have no ill will towards my brothers and parents and things like that. But it was just to spend time with them. So we could have been like in a cardboard box in the middle of the street. And I just love brushing up against my family, seeing my parents. And that's one of those things I would encourage anyone to do. And it's easier for me because my family's good. We don't have really toxic relationships. And I feel like every time I spend time with my parents, I learn more about myself. I remember a couple years ago when I was at home and me and my dad was taking me to the airport, and we stopped somewhere to grab food, just going through a drive-thru, and he did something. He had some mannerism in the drive-thru, and I immediately was like, wow, I do that. That's where I got that from. And so it was just interesting. And sometimes, you're around your parents or family, and they'll tell little stories about you as a kid, and you're like, I didn't know that, or it enhances your understanding of why you do what you do and how or why you are the way you are. And I think it still works that way. That principle still works if you're in a toxic family. And I know that's easier said than done, but like, if your family's toxic, it's kind of good to be around them because some things may have leached on you that you could leach into your relationship with your children, or just leach into your children or your coworkers in different situations in life, and you won't even know or have an understanding of why, who, what, when, where, and why. So that's very helpful. It's a tough way to learn those things, and I haven't really had to do that with family. I mean, obviously, but with cousins and grandparents and aunts and uncles, there are going to be some situations that you're naturally going to be like, this sucks, but I got to do it. And again, it's painful education, but it's worthwhile in the end so that you can make adjustments and be the best version of yourself. So with all that rambling, I'll leave you with the end of this video where I'm just, walking around this college and going to go back to the airport. And again, no regrets. Glad I went. It wasn't perfect, but I grew, continue to grow. I'll catch you in the next one. I think this is probably student housing here at Central Park. But I'm gonna walk a little ways down here, and I'll probably find like a local Burger King, and then I'll get a ride to the airport. It may or may not be student housing, I don't know. So, just want to see a little bit more of San Juan, and then I'll head back. All right, so there's a look at the dorms there. I shouldn't be greedy, so I'm gonna go ahead and walk back to the mall and then catch an Uber from there. So I'm gonna cross the street here. This doesn't look too crazy, and make my way back. Business type area. here. Oh, shoot. All right. Yep, being very all right. So this airport, you go through a mall of sorts. And going to your terminal. But I'm running late, so I better go.